Good morning. Got my hot cup of coffee right here, and it's time to walk into the garden. So here you can see in the first bed, the tomato bed out here in the duck garden, I have the shade up there to help protect the tomatoes from some of the sun, just because our weather has just been so intensely hot and dry. And it seems to be helping, because I see new tomatoes setting further up, whereas I wasn't getting anything prior to that. The loofah, again, is going beautifully. I actually come out here and I prune this, all of these long tendrils. I really have to do that about every other day, or they just go insane. My one lone loofah, you can see right back there, it has kind of worked its way down through the cattle panel. It actually has, it's got a little bit of like a pinched shape right here where it was in between the cattle panels when it was first starting to grow. But it's about, I don't know, 15, 16 inches long now. So still the only one I'm seeing so far. But like I said, if it's the only one, I'll still be happy, because this is such great shade for these guys. We've got more Dr. Weich's tomatoes ripening. Blue Beauties back in there. Now, because they have that shade cloth and they're not getting as much direct sunlight, they're not going to develop that beautiful deep blue color, but that's okay. Because like I said, the heat was so intense that my blossoms weren't setting. They were just shriveling up and falling off. And I would much rather have more tomatoes by protecting them from the sun than I would that beautiful color. I mean, tomatoes is the reason we're growing it. You know what I'm saying? The asparagus bed is filling up with all sorts of wispy asparagus. We've got lots of new shoots coming up all over the place, so I'm happy to see this getting established, so that down the road we'll be able to enjoy homegrown asparagus. The flower beds out here are starting to look a little sad. Could be just because I started everything so early, but also the heat. These queen lime zinnias, I started these from seed out here in the beds, and so they're a little bit more robust at this point. I'm still absolutely loving the color on these things, and I will definitely be growing more of the queen lime varieties next year. This is my pineapple sage. This will just be greenery until the end of summer, and at the end of summer, that is when those beautiful scarlet flowers will develop, and it's kind of like a last ditch push for winter to come, and it's kind of perfect timing for the hummingbirds as they're migrating through and going down south. They have these beautiful flowers that they can get nourishment from long after all of the other flowers have gone away. My red roselle, there's no more flowers happening on here, but we do have these interesting little pods down in there. So I've never grown roselle before. I really don't know a lot about it, and I don't exactly know what those pods are, to be honest. Over here we have more of the mazurkia zinnias. They're looking a little bit rough as well. They're still blooming. We're still getting more flowers, but they're really struggling with this drought type weather that we've been having. And they have been getting hit a little bit by the Japanese beetles, but not too terribly bad. Really, it's the roselle that I'm finding them on every single day, multiples. And I have to come out here and snatch them up and toss them into my jar of water. But I really love these flowers. And next year, Now this year I grew all mazurkias in one section, and it's interesting to see the variations because you've got these ones are kind of my favorite. They look like they've been frosted. And then you have these that are all kind of solid pink. And then you have ones like this that are just kind of tipped with the white. And so they're all mazurkias, but it's interesting to see the variation. But next year I want to mix up my zinnias and have some mazurkias, some queen limes, some maybe the Persian carpets, and just kind of mix them all together. And I think that'll be fun. The Tulsi basil over here is beginning to dry up and go to seed. So I will be coming out here before too long and just stripping off these stalks to save the seeds for next year. Same with this Blue Monday sage. All of these little blossoms, dried up blossoms, have seeds inside them. I can strip these stalks and take all of these for the seeds as well. Hi, babies. So anytime I prune the loofah vines, I just toss them on the ground, and I take some to the other ducks at the other end, because as you can see, they really love to eat the loofah. So I suppose it's good fodder for them as well. Here's the Persian carpet zinnias. And like I said, I think these stayed small simply because they're so thick. There's so many. I just kind of scattered some seeds. I didn't really place them out here, and so I think it stunted their growth. And next year I will grow these again, but I'll give them some appropriate space, because all of those zinnias right there, that's only 4 plants. You can see how big and full all of those flowers are. Well, these are supposed to be about the same size blossoms, but they're not. And that's really, I think, because there's just, I don't even know how many plants are growing in here. Oh, I see something. Oh, looky there. This is a teddy bear sunflower coming up. I popped a couple seeds in there, and I see one has pushed its way up through there, through the jungle of greenery. So that's exciting. Speaking of which, I see one in here too. Now wait a minute. This is supposed to be a teddy bear sunflower. I guess maybe it's just not fully opened. I need to prune back some of this loofah for this flower right here. Oh, over here in the jungle bed, I'm seeing some sunflowers, or a sunflower as well, that has worked its way up. So I planted 3 or 4 of them down in there. This is the only one I'm seeing that's come up. That's all right. You can see it's got multiple heads on it. That'll be fun to see those. Yeah, looking down in there, I don't see any others. That's the only one. So I just noticed down in here we have some very red lipstick peppers. Finally, I'll come out here and pick those so we can give those a try. So the lipstick peppers have actually produced a lot of peppers, but they really take a long time to ripen to the red stage. And when they get red, that is when they're supposed to be very, very sweet. You know, while they're green, they just taste basically like a bell pepper. And so now that we've got some red ones, I'm anxious to give those a try. So this week, the lettuce has been blooming. There's these delicate little yellow flowers all over, and that's what's going to create the seeds for me to save for next year. Here we've got more of the little radish flowers coming up from, I believe it's a daikon radish down in there. Of course, the ground cherries. These are Aunt Molly's ground cherries, and they're just going crazy. And here's the deal with the ground cherries. So I planted them last year kind of as an experiment, and it was my understanding that they taste like pineapple, and I thought that would be fantastic. Well, they don't taste like pineapple. Honestly, they taste too much like a tomato, a very sweet tomato, but too much of a tomato for my liking, because, you know, I don't actually like raw tomatoes. So I have not been eating them. Mr. Smith likes them. He's been eating them, but there's only so many that he can eat. So what the ground cherries have essentially turned into is duck treats. The ducks absolutely love them. So every evening, Mr. Smith comes out here and he picks all the ripe ones of the day, and he sits out here and he feeds the ducks. So over here in the flower bed, we have some flowers that have opened up this week. These are some perennials that I planted last year, and to be honest with you, I can't remember what the variety exactly was. I don't know. I'll have to look it up and see if I can remember. I did have some butterfly flowers, or butterfly weed, milkweed, orange milkweed, that I had planted here last year that was supposed to be a perennial, but I don't think it's come back. I thought those might be it right there, but that's the wrong leaves, and that's this right here, echinacea coming out. So I'm not sure. I think that one's a loss for the year. The chocolate mint is starting to develop its little flowers to do its reproducing, which it is very good at reproducing. This comfrey here I cut completely down a couple weeks ago, and you can see it's growing back quickly and even has new flowers on it. My scarlet coneflowers out here are doing wonderfully. They have a new round of flowers coming out on display. This is some more pineapple sage, as is right over there underneath the butterfly bush behind the rosemary. Alright, it's starting to get super sunny and it is starting to heat up. So let's head on over to the big garden. So these are some more of the zinnias that I'm going to mix together with the other varieties next year. I mean, I think these are one of Mr. Smith's favorites right here. He absolutely loves all of the bright, cheerful colors on these, and I have to admit they are lovely. My marigolds back in there. Back when I planted these, I planted them backwards. The zinnias should have been back and the marigolds should have been in the front because of the height difference, but that's okay. So the Mongolian giant sunflowers, these two here on the end are starting to develop heads, and they have gotten a little bit taller. That one there is probably about 7 feet tall. That one's, or maybe taller, that one's probably 6.5 or so. And the heads are forming, so we'll see how big they get. Candy striper cosmos. There's actually more of a color variation on these than I realized there would be. You have some like this with the bold contrast with white down in the center and then the dark edges. You've got ones like this that are a little bit more white, and then you have ones like this that are almost completely white with just a tiny little bit of pink in the center. The Amish paste tomatoes they're still struggling, but they're still trying to produce. You can see there's a red one right down in there. We get them now and again, but they're not very prolific. If I try to grow these again, it will definitely be in one of the raised beds with the proper soil. I mean, as you can see, we're getting some blight down here on these leaves, getting the yellowing. So I need to come out here and do some maintenance and see if we can't save these to get a few more of these to ripen up for use. My salvaged zucchini plants are producing. Last week there was an itty bitty little zucchini down there, and as you can see we got one almost close enough to pick. Not quite, but it's getting there. The ones over here that were really struggling and really puny, we've got our first blossom, so that's exciting. More of the Rubinato Cosmos over here. Our NT half-runner green beans. I've got to come out here and pick again because we have got green beans everywhere. Look at all of these. I think so far these are my favorite green beans that we have grown. This isn't good. We have got a hole dug right here underneath the sweet potato vines. I think I'm going to have to set a trap out here. Not good, not good. But look at these beautiful, beautiful sweet potato blossoms. You got to get out here in the morning to be able to enjoy them. We've got sweet potato vines coming down all through here. More lovely marigolds. But this is what has really excited me this week. I just am thrilled to see this. These are the Moon and Stars watermelon. They took a long time to get going, but we have got little baby watermelons all over the place. Right there. Look at this one. Right here. I am so excited to be able to try these. Our candy roaster squash is coming along. As you can see here, that one right there might actually be close to ready to harvest. It's about the right size, and I think we might pull it before too long. We've got another good one back in there growing. Right here, the Charlotte Gray watermelon. Look at how big this thing's getting. Isn't that gorgeous? This is the biggest one. We got one right over there that's about the size of a cantaloupe right now. And then, this week I noticed a couple more. We've got one right down in here. And we got another one right down in there, standing up on end and growing, right under the Chinese noodle beans. Look at this, folks. They are definitely producing. We have got Chinese noodle beans all over. So I'm thrilled. I will be coming out here probably this week to harvest for the first time and give these a try. Look at this big one. It's huge. And look right here. Look at my beautiful sunflowers. These are the Lemon Queen sunflowers, multi-head variety. And I love them, but also so do the bees, because they are covered with them. The zucchini is still producing. I need to come out here and harvest this one today. Oh, we've got some digging down here too. Not cool, not cool. My first red sunflower has opened. This tiny little thing. It's so pretty though. I love the variety you see in sunflowers. And the big tomato bed out here. The shade cloth really seems to be helping this tomato bed because I've got new tomatoes growing up towards the top, which I wasn't getting before. So that's a good sign. More tomatoes. And you can see these down here that get the direct sunlight, how they have that beautiful blue color, these blue beauty tomatoes. Whereas the ones up under the shade, you can see a couple right back in there, are just staying completely green. More big, gorgeous Dr. Weck tomatoes. And these peach hot peppers are finally starting to show some color. We're starting to get some that are actually turning that peachy orange color. And I have been able to harvest the first few, and I actually dried them in the dehydrator to use for seasoning later on. I'll be coming out here today to harvest some more jalapenos because I'm going to make my stuffed jalapeno recipe tonight for dinner. If you have not tried my jalapeno popper recipe, grilled, stuffed, maple glazed, everything wonderful, you really need to try that recipe. I'm just saying. So yeah, we're making those again tonight. And look at all these Tabasco peppers. They are everywhere. Alright you guys, so that is the garden for this week. You can join me again next week for another tour, weekly tour of our garden. And if you missed any previous tours that you would like to see, I have a playlist of just the garden tours, and I will link that in a card up here or down below where you can find it if you are interested. And I will also link the recipe for those jalapeno poppers that I mentioned, because I'm just saying you need them in your life. So thanks for walking through the garden with me again today. I'll talk to y'all next time.